Before we begin, remember to subscribe to Whispers Beyond and enable notifications. Tonight's story takes us to the isolated coastal town of Cedar Bay, where a hunting trip gone wrong unleashed something older than humanity, and the disappearance of 3 lighthouse keepers was only the first sign of the horror waiting beneath the waves. He held the gun to his own head. No sound, no scream, just the click of the hammer. But there were no bullets inside. The boy tried to run. The father pulled him back. The child's nails tore against the wooden floor, leaving blood in the cracks. The door behind them shook violently, something ramming it again and again, something that wasn't supposed to exist. A deer, but standing on 2 legs, taller than the door frame, its skull split in half, its eyes black and wet and hateful. Every time it slammed the door, dust fell from the ceiling. The father whispered something. The boy didn't understand. At first it sounded like prayer, then like begging, then like surrender. "I'm not alone in here," the father muttered, voice cracking. "It's inside me. Oh God, it's inside me." When the door finally broke, there was no time to scream. The deer stepped into the light, its twisted bones cracking as it dragged itself forward. Steam hissed off its frozen flesh. The air turned sour. Everyone in that room would remember the smell, until the day they died. 2 weeks earlier, Cedar Bay had been normal. The sky was soft gray, like it always was by the water. The fishing boats came in slow. The lighthouse rotated every 8 seconds, casting white light over the cliffs. Children still rode their bikes past the old cannery. Old women still watered their tiny coastal gardens. The town wasn't special. The people weren't special, but what was buried under its soil was ancient and hungry. The boy didn't know that yet. All he knew was the party, the bonfire, the smell of barbecue smoke drifting across the yard, the taste of stolen beer, and Lucy Sitkins, the girl sitting next to him under the low-hanging branches of a cedar tree. Her hair smelled like wood smoke and salt. Her laugh was quiet, almost secret. Every time she spoke, her face leaned a little closer to his. He thought, just for a second, she might rest her head on his shoulder. He thought about putting his arm around her waist. Then Lucy's father forced a beer can down his own throat in front of everyone. People screamed. Children cried. The boy ran to the noise, heart pounding. By the time he got there, adults were pulling kids away and sirens were already wailing in the distance. His father was standing by the grill, face pale, lips pressed tight. He said nothing, only told the boy to grab his sister and go home. The boy never saw Lucy Sitkins again. By Monday morning, Cedar Bay felt wrong. Teachers whispered in corners. Older kids muttered by the gates. Rumors spread faster than the tide. Larry Sitkins, the landscaper who told bad jokes at birthdays, had shoved an entire beer can down his throat, like a snake swallowing an egg. Some kids said he praised the devil. Some said he was drunk. Some said someone punched him mid-sip. The truth didn't matter. He was dead. Half a day later, a teacher crushed his own neck in the gym bleachers. The boy saw it happen. Mr. Straub's face was slack and empty as he hit the button to close the metal seats around his throat. No fear, no scream, just bored, lifeless eyes staring into nothing while his bones snapped like twigs. 2 deaths in 3 days. Both strange, both silent, both with that same empty look. Then came the others. A barista steamed her own arm. A doctor injected air straight into his heart. Hunters shot themselves in the chest instead of the head. All over town, people hurt themselves in slow, deliberate ways, as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. The boy's father didn't talk about it. He barely slept. He barely ate. He barely looked human anymore. When the boy's mother left for a town meeting, he wandered into the woods alone. The air smelled of salt and pine sap. The ground was soft with moss and old needles. It was supposed to be quiet out there, but the silence felt wrong. No birds, no wind, no sound except his own breathing. He followed the train tracks until they vanished into a tunnel bristling with ivy. The air pouring from it was cold, almost winter cold. He thought about turning back, but then he saw it, a pale hand lying across the tracks. A man's body, no legs. The blood had dried to black. His torso was thin and shriveled, like a scarecrow stuffed with rotten meat. The boy called out, voice cracking. No answer. He stepped closer, shaking. His shoes scraped gravel. His breath sounded too loud. When he knelt down, He realized the man's eyes were open and moving. The body crawled toward him, not alive, not dead, something in between. It dragged itself over gravel with one working arm, fingernails broken and bleeding. The other arm hung backward, dislocated. Its face was slack, mouth open, black teeth glistening. The boy screamed and ran. Branches whipped his arms. Roots snagged his feet. He didn't stop, couldn't stop. The world spun and blurred. The only thing he heard was the scrape of bone and flesh dragging behind him, slow but steady, like it would never stop following. By the time he collapsed in the hollow of an old tree, his throat was raw from screaming, and his body shook so hard he couldn't stand. He woke hours later, in the dark. At home, chaos had already begun. His father was bleeding. His grandmother was holding him down. His mother was screaming for rope. His little sister was crying in the corner, hands over her ears. The gun went off twice. The walls cracked, windows shattered. The boy didn't know whose blood was on the floor. He only knew one thing. His father's face had changed. Pale, empty eyes, lips cracked and blue, skin cold as stone. The government came at dawn. Masks, hazmat suits, biohazard symbols. No questions, no explanations. They took his father away, in silence. 2 days later, the boy sneaked into the shed. His father always kept the hunting meat separate from the kitchen freezer. 2 deer from the last trip. That's what he told everyone. 2 normal deer. But the boy knew there were 3. One of them had walked on 2 legs. The freezer lid creaked. Mist rose. Frozen meat stuck to the sides like duct tape. Antlers, fur, skin split by ice. He dug through it with shaking hands, desperate to see 2 bodies instead of 1. But the deeper he dug, the clearer it became. Only 1 deer. The other one was missing. Noplai, Lawes was. Once, twice, then again. Something inside was moving. Something frozen, but alive. And from the pile of ice and fur, something clawed its way out, skin tearing, bones cracking. It wasn't just a deer anymore. It was something worse. The boy stumbled out of the shed, screaming for help, and slammed straight into his father. Cold hands, empty eyes, voice trembling like broken glass. "I think I'm dead," his father whispered. "When did I die?" The boy didn't answer. He stared past his father's shoulder, at the nightmare crawling out of the shed on 2 legs. The deer's black eyes locked onto him, its jaw unhinged, and it smiled. The boy did not move. The deer stood in the doorway. Its frozen jaw clicked open and shut. Steam hissed out between broken teeth. The father held him tight, not to protect him, to keep him still. The boy screamed, pushed, fought. Nothing worked. The father's arms were iron. The creature dragged itself forward, hooves cracking on the wooden floor. Each step made the boards groan. The air stank of rot and wet fur. The boy begged inside his head, "Someone, anyone, please." The back door burst open. His mother rushed in swinging a rake. Wood splintered. The deer barely flinched. Neighbors yelled from fences. Someone shouted to call the police. Then came the shot, a sound so loud, the night split open. The deer's head exploded in a spray of black ice and red mist. The body twitched, collapsed, silence. The boy stared at the shattered skull steaming on the floor. The only sound was his father whispering the same words over and over. "It's in us. It wants us. It's in us. It wants us." Morning came gray and quiet. Government trucks rolled in before sunrise. Men in white suits sealed the property in yellow tape. No one explained anything. They didn't have to. The town had already guessed. The deer was gone within an hour. The father too. A neighbor asked if it was rabies. A scientist shook his head. Another whispered something about prions. Someone else muttered a single word that made no sense. Ancient. The boy's family was placed under watch. Blood tests. Quarantine. Masks over their faces every time they left the room. The mother cried at night when she thought no one could hear. The little sister stopped speaking entirely. The boy heard things in the walls. Scratches. Whispers. Sometimes, late at night, he felt something cold breathing inside his own skull. Blast. The hospital wasn't a hospital. It was a bunker, carved into the cliffs beneath the lighthouse. The government called it an observation facility. Locals called it what it really was, a prison. Steel doors, cameras in every corner, no clocks, no windows. Patients wandered the halls, pale and empty-eyed. Some muttered to themselves. Some clawed at their own skin until their nails tore off. A few laughed, but never at anything funny. The boy's father was in the lowest level. The guards called it deep containment. No visitors allowed, no talking allowed, just feeding tubes and restraints. The boy asked why they couldn't let him see his dad. No one answered. Weeks passed.
their faces blurred by the reflections of glowing monitors. Scans showed black shapes spreading through human brains, like roots through soil. One night, the boy overheard them arguing, "It isn't a virus, it isn't bacterial. Then what is it?" A silence, then a single reply, barely a whisper, "Older than us." The boy began to dream of the woods, dark tunnels stretching forever, footsteps behind him that never sped up, never slowed down, a voice whispering just behind his ear, not words, just hunger. Each morning he woke colder, his hands trembled, his thoughts felt like they belonged to someone else. When he looked in the mirror, he swore he saw something moving behind his own eyes. The sickness was spreading beyond Cedar Bay. Other towns went silent, highways closed overnight, fishing boats stopped returning. The lighthouse went dark for the first time in 100 years. The boy overheard guards talking about an evacuation plan, about burning the woods, about erasing everything. They said the infection wasn't local, said it was buried deep beneath continents, said it had been waiting for millions of years. The boy stopped sleeping altogether. One night, alarms screamed through the facility, flashing red lights, doors slamming shut, distant gunfire echoing through the halls. The boy clutched his sister and ran. His mother screamed his name from somewhere behind him. Guards shouted orders, weapons drawn, boots pounding metal floors. A single phrase repeated over the intercom, "Containment breach, lower levels compromised." He knew what that meant. His father was loose. The boy turned a corner and froze. At the far end of the hall stood the silhouette of a man, tall, broad shoulders, head tilted slightly, unnaturally. The boy whispered his father's name. The man tilted his head the other way, bone cracked. Then, slowly, he stepped forward into the red flashing lights, skin pale, lips black, eyes empty, but moving and smiling. The red alarms never stopped. The sirens drilled through bone. The boy ran barefoot down the metal hallway, holding his sister's hand so tight her knuckles turned white. Her feet slapped against the cold floor, her breath short and sharp like a frightened animal. Behind them, doors slammed one by one, locks clanging, guards shouting, gunfire cracking in the distance. But the whispers were louder than everything. They weren't in the walls anymore. They were inside his skull. At the far end of the hall, his father stepped into view. His bare feet left wet prints on the floor. His chest rose and fell slow, deliberate, as if something else was controlling every breath. The boy froze. His sister whimpered. The father tilted his head in that broken way, bones creaking. His lips trembled. His voice was soft. "Don't run." But it wasn't his voice anymore. It was two voices, layered together. One human, one older. The heavy door slammed behind them, sealing with a hiss. They kept running, tears blurring everything. The lower levels weren't built for escape. Narrow tunnels, metal stairs, locked gates, everything designed to keep things in, not let them out. But the outbreak had changed that. Blood smeared the walls. Footsteps echoed in every direction. The boy couldn't tell who was human and who wasn't anymore. They stumbled into a control room. Monitors flickered with static. Maps of the facility glowed in pale blue. One screen showed the woods above ground. Dark shapes moved between the trees. Too many shapes. Another screen showed the lighthouse. Its beam was still dark. The boy remembered the stories about the lighthouse keepers who vanished in 1992. Everyone thought they drowned. Now, he wondered if they ever left the island at all. His arm was bent the wrong way. He whispered a single warning, before collapsing. "It's not dead." The floor trembled, low, rhythmic, like footsteps. The boy helped his sister climb a ladder to the upper deck. His mother grabbed the soldier's rifle with shaking hands and followed. Behind them a scream cut short, then silence. Fires swallowed the fishing docks. Boats cracked and sank into the black water. The streets were empty, except for bodies twisted in impossible shapes. The lighthouse loomed ahead, half swallowed by fog. Its windows glowed faintly red, pulsing like a heartbeat. The boy's sister pointed toward the top. Something was moving behind the glass. Something tall. Something with antlers. They sprinted for the lighthouse. The door hung open. Wind howled through the stone hall. The spiral stairs rose into blackness, every step slick with sea spray and blood. Halfway up, the boy heard it. A voice. Not his father's. Not human. It spoke in his head. "We remember you." At the top, the room was empty. No keepers. No soldiers. Just shattered glass. And the roar of the sea below. The boy stepped toward the light chamber. His breath fogged in the freezing air. Something dripped from the ceiling onto his cheek. Warm. Sticky. He looked up. A body hung from the rafters. Twisted. Antlered. Its empty eyes stared straight down at him. The voice spoke again. Louder. Closer. "We walked before your kind. We fed before your kind. We waited in the dark when the seas were ice. The boy dropped to his knees, clutching his head. His sister cried. His mother screamed at something none of them could see. Things with too many limbs, all moving in the same broken rhythm, all heading toward the tower. The beam of the lighthouse flickered once, then twice, then turned blood red. Every creature stopped. Every head turned upward. The boy's father stepped into the doorway, skin gray, eyes hollow, antlers pushing through his scalp like growing branches. He whispered, two voices layered into one. It wants the sea. His father stood in the doorway, antlers growing taller with every heartbeat. Behind him, the staircase groaned under dozens of feet. Human feet, animal hooves, broken claws. The infected were climbing. The boy's mother aimed the stolen rifle. Her hands shook so violently, the barrel clattered against the railing. She screamed his name, begged him to come back. Not his voice, not the deer's voice, something older. We have waited beneath your feet. We have tasted your blood in the soil. We will rise with the tide. Glass shattered behind them. Shapes poured through the broken windows of the lighthouse. Thin limbs, black eyes, antlers scraping the stone walls. The boy dragged his sister toward the top of the tower, toward the light chamber. The red beam pulsed in time with his heartbeat. Every pulse made the whispers louder. We know you. We are you. We are you. At the top, the chamber shook. The floor cracked. The air reeked of salt and blood. Beneath the cracks, something moved. Slow, trembling, alive. Far below, under the stone foundation, black roots writhed in the deep water. Miles of them, twisting upward, pulsing with light. They weren't roots. They were veins. The father stepped into the chamber. The boy's mother fired again. The bullet ripped through his chest. He didn't fall, didn't even flinch. He spoke, and the sound was wrong. Two voices. 3. Hundreds. It is awake. Something massive shifted beneath the lighthouse. A shape too big to imagine. Ribs like cliffs. Eyes like suns. Antlers that pierced the ocean floor and scraped the clouds. The boy realized the deer, the wolves, the people. They weren't infected at all. They were parts. Fragments. Pieces of something waking up. The last thing the boy saw before the stairwell collapsed was his mother's face. Pale. Bloody. Determined. Then the red beam shattered. The lighthouse fell into the sea. Stone screamed. Steel tore. The water boiled as black veins erupted through the cliffs, reaching skyward like skeletal hands. Boats miles offshore saw it happen. People filmed it from the highway. None of them ever came back. Salt burning his eyes. The lighthouse was gone. The cliffs were gone. The town of Cedar Bay was gone. Only the black roots remained, rising from the water, like the ribs of some colossal corpse. The boy clutched his sister to his chest. She wasn't breathing. He screamed until his voice broke. Hours later, a helicopter found him drifting on a piece of broken wood. Soldiers pulled him aboard, wrapped him in blankets, asked him questions he couldn't answer. What happened down there? What was in the lighthouse? Where is everyone else? He stared at them with empty eyes and smiled. Months passed. The government buried Cedar Bay. They said it was an earthquake, a gas explosion, a storm. People moved on. Mostly, but fishermen whispered about red lights beneath the waves. Divers found antlers buried in the seafloor, longer than city blocks. Things with too many bones, things that weren't quite dead. The boy writes this now, from a white room with no windows. Doctors come in every day. Masks, clipboards. They smile too wide. The boy does
Shout at how he hears voices. He tells them no, but he does. At night, the whispers grow louder. Not his voice, not the deer's voice, something older. We are patient. We are deep. We are already inside. Because he knows what comes next.